Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies. We are entering the month of August 1989. It's the weekend of August 4th, and we've got 6 movies to look at today, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump right on into it and get started with our first movie, and that is Ron Howard's ensemble comedy, Parenthood. Yeah, this is really one of those ones where I really don't have to say too much about it because I think most people have seen the original Parenthood. Most people really like the movie, and my thoughts are pretty much the same as well. I really like it. I think it's one of Ron Howard's best movies. It's a great comedy, features a great cast: Steve Martin, Tom Hulce, Jason Robards, Rick Moranis, a young Keanu Reeves, Mary Steenburgen, Martha Plimpton. Just this great cast working off of each other in this fun family comedy that, of course, inspired a very good TV series in the 2010s, the Parenthood TV series. Um, yeah, I really don't have much more to say about that one. I think Parenthood is a great movie, and chances are you probably have already seen it already. So let's go ahead and move on. Quick review on that one. Let's go on to the next movie, and the next movie is Sylvester Stallone in the action thriller Lock Up. It's interesting. Sylvester Stallone, years after this movie came out, said that this was not a film that was produced and performed with enough maturity to really make a significant impact on the audience or his career, and that's the truth. And I mean, I can kind of see where he's coming from. I do like this idea that the film is putting here. You got a criminal who is going to spend 6 months in a low security prison, and then all of a sudden somebody takes him and transfers him over to this other harsher prison where this evil guy is waiting for him, someone from his past. And that could have been something interesting. You got Donald Sutherland as the bad guy, which usually that's a win. There was stuff there that could have made this movie work, but it wasn't, I don't know, it was mostly just kind of generic. I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot there to make it stand out on its own or really be anything different from a traditional Sylvester Stallone movie. I mean, the movie Cobra, which was not one of Stallone's biggest bombs at the time, had much more to it than this movie does. I mean, this movie, most of the time, is just people talking back and forth, back and forth. There's not really a whole lot of action there. And, yeah, I don't know. I could definitely see where Stallone was coming from here. I think he could have had a better movie here, but it just didn't work out as well as I thought it would, or I think he would have thought it would. So that's my thoughts on Lock Up, a generic action movie that could have been a whole lot better. Maybe there was a better script involved. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. More proof that Crocodile Dundee's success was a major fluke. Young Einstein, which also came from Australia, was a big hit there. Warner Brothers brought it here, thinking that it was going to be their Crocodile Dundee, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, this is a really, really bad movie. I mean, one scene in particular can pretty much sum up this movie as a whole. Yep, that's pretty much it. Just chaotic things happening. We're playing around with different historical figures from the past on a script that's really not all that inventive and all that. Plus, Yahoo Serious also co-wrote and directed this movie. His name is all over this film. Yeah, it just wasn't. It just didn't work. It just didn't work on any level whatsoever. Yeah, very short review on this one. But like with Parenthood, pretty much everything that's already been said about this movie can pretty much sum up my review for it. Pretty bad, and it definitely was one of those movies that I think stopped the transition from a different country to another country to like another Crocodile Dundee happening. So I guess that's one thing we could say about it, that it stopped those type of movies from trying to become the next Crocodile Dundee when this one obviously didn't. So that's my thoughts on Young Einstein. Let's get to a much better movie, and that is Steven Soderbergh's Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Steven Soderbergh's directorial debut, his feature directorial debut. He actually did a concert film before this, 4 years prior. But this is his first scripted film that he directed and wrote, and the results speak for themselves. This is a really good, well-made, erotic drama with some very good characters, a great cast led by James Spader, Andy McDowell, Peter Gallagher, and Laura San Giacomo. And it's a very good movie. It's a very funny. It can be very funny. It can be very serious. You want to you root for these characters. You're intrigued by these characters. It's just a well-made movie all around. I mean, it's a great film all around. A great story, great writing, great direction, great cast. Just a solid film all the way through. It's like I said, it's a very good erotic film. Like, it's not like, it isn't exploitive like films we get to later down the line, like Basic Instinct or Indecent Proposal or Disclosure. But it uses eroticism in a very interesting way. Something that I don't think most movies usually know how to do, except when they try to go for an NC-17 rating, or at this point the X rating, because the NC-17 was still a year away. But yeah, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, classic Steven Soderbergh movie, the first movie that launched his career as a filmmaker, and he would go on to direct great movies all around. Not much more I could say about that one. I think most people have seen this one already as it is. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. Me and Him, a movie about a man and a penis with a mind of its own. I'd say this is insane. I'd say this is crazy, and probably would be right. But at the same time, I've actually seen movies that I've actually not seen these movies, but I've heard of movies about, you know, anatomy talking on its own, or minds of its own. I think this is based off of a remake of an Italian film. I think it's the same type of film, but I know there were movies about talking vaginas with a mind of their own, that kind of stuff. Like, this was apparently a trend back in the 70s and 80s, that they made these movies about people and their penises or vaginas talking or having a mind of their own. And how the heck do you think this is going to play in America? And obviously I don't think it did very well, because nobody really talks about this movie. It's got a good cast in it. It's got Griffin Dunn, Ellen Green, Kelly Bishop, Craig T. Nelson, Carrie Lowe, David Alan Grier, Marklyn Baker, Sammy Wright, Reggie Cathy. I mean, it's a great cast all around here, and how do you make this work? That's the biggest problem with this movie. It's like, how do you make this work for a mainstream audience? I don't think you can do this kind of a comedy for a mainstream audience. I think this is what they were trying to do here, and it's just, yeah, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, maybe it could be done depending on who you get to do it. If they could find a way to maybe work around it and keep it an R-rated movie, make it like an Apatow comedy nowadays, or maybe a comedy based is in the style of a Landis or Ivan Reitman, or even a Blake Edwards movie. Blake Edwards probably could have made this work, but yeah, the way this is done here, it's weird. It's a weird concept. You need the right person to make this movie work for American audiences, a mainstream American audience, and I don't think it works here. So that's my thoughts on Me and Him. Let's get to the last movie, and the last movie is The Time Guardian. Now, they import from Australia, I think, but this time around, I think they were trying to create a new Mad Max phenomenon, and you can tell that this obviously didn't work very well, because nobody really talks about this movie anymore. It didn't perform well at the box office. It was poorly received, and I mean, it's got some good ideas to it, but I think, again, I think they needed a better script to make this stand out on its own. If you watch this trailer, it looks like a mix of Mad Max, Terminator, Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'm trying to think of another movie that I was thinking of when I watched this trailer, but yeah, it's like mixing Mad Max, Terminator, Nightmare on Elm Street, pretty much anything that was successful in the 80s, and Back to the Future is probably what I was thinking of, yeah, Mad Max, Back to the Future, Terminator, Nightmare on Elm Street. It feels like they put all this together into one movie, and it just leads to this, and it just doesn't look, it doesn't look that promising, at least to me. But like I said, I think they were trying to create the next Mad Max, and it just didn't work out very well for them. So yeah, Time Guardian. Despite the fact that they have some notable actors in here, Carrie Fisher, Dean Stockwell, who was just breaking out with Quantum Leap, and he just had been nominated for an Oscar for Married to the Mob. So that's something. But other than that, yeah, this looks pretty forgettable. So that's my thoughts on The Time Guardian. And with that said, that's going to wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time around, we only got 2 movies to look at. We've got James Cameron's return to the big screen after Aliens. The Abyss was not a big hit at theaters at first, but it's going to have this massive cult following. Does it deserve it, though? We'll take a look at that, and we'll also look at A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Some may say the darkest in the original Nightmare on Elm Street series, but we'll see for ourselves. We'll take a look at that and The Abyss next time around. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit the play button on the next playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next one. So until then, take care.